Every mystery leaves a trace, a clue, a rumor, a piece of evidence history forgot to explain. This is the Enigma Files, where every story is true, every theory is on the table, and nothing is ever fully closed.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode. Paul, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Tony?
I'm doing good. Trying to keep warm. Winter is upon us.
Yeah, I've already shoveled once today, so
Yeah, we're in a snowstorm here in the Midwest.
gotta love
So
it.
yeah, tis the season between all the
Mm.
Christmas lights and everybody wants a white Christmas. The problem is you gotta shovel all the
Well, that
snow.
I said to Jen, I said we may actually get a white Christmas this year. I don't
Yeah,
think we've had a white Christmas in a couple
it,
years.
it's been a
So
few years. You can have it. I'll look at, I know that sounds kind of grinchy. I love Christmas, but I don't like the snow.
it's
So
nice to look at, but
it,
other than that, pass.
yeah, it makes the Christmas lights look really cool, but that's
Right.
about it. Um, what's interesting today, though, we're going to get into, a good mystery um, that is actually almost 99 years, almost to the day that we're recording. We're a little
Yeah, a
bit past it.
little past the day.
We're going to talk about Agatha Christie and her 11-day disappearance. Um, did you ever read any of her books?
A few. I was never a huge Agatha Christie reader, but I've read a few.
Yeah, I got into them a little bit here with the new movies when they came back out. Um, Murder on the Orient Express,
Hmm.
Death on the Nile. She does a cool one, ABC Murders. So she is, if not the number one female selling mystery art writer of all time, she's like right there, and overall one of the top all time.
Hmm.
So I think it's kind of interesting. Obviously, if you listen to our podcast, you enjoy a good mystery. You know that we enjoy a good mystery. Now you have a mystery writer who's at the heart of a pretty good mystery.
A
So
very interesting mystery.
yeah, it's this is going to be an interesting one to kind of go through. I am going to put this out there at the beginning. Um, we are going to have one of the theories that is posted is that this may have been a suicide attempt. So I do just want to put that trigger warning out
Mm.
here at the beginning. There's not details or anything, but it is something that
Something
will
that,
be
yeah, something
mentioned.
in there.
So I just want our listeners to be aware that that is going to come up here later on. So. Um,
And if you're listening and you have thoughts of suicide or anything like that, please reach out to someone, call the suicide hotline, call a friend, call your pastor, call someone, talk to them. You are loved, you will leave so much more devastation to do something like that than just toughing it out and getting through the hard parts. So yeah, if you are having those type of thoughts, get help. You're loved.
well said, and I will echo those exact same things. So, and when we get to that point again in this episode, we'll mention it again.
Yeah.
But just want to
Sorry to start with a downer here.
well, but we do want to put that out there because
Yeah.
I do know it's a trigger with some folks. So, um, we'll be mindful of that. But let's jump into this. This is going to be an interesting case. So, we're going to start December 3rd, 1926, to paint the scene. Um, you have Agatha Christie, again, famous mystery writer, celebrated for all of her work. She's a best selling writer at this time. She's married to her husband named Archie, and Archie has admitted to her that he's having an affair. Um, and he's having an affair um, with this woman whose last name is Neele, Neele. And on the night of December 3rd, 1926, Agatha and he get into a pretty heated argument. Um, Agatha jumps into her Morris Cowley car and vanishes.
Mhm.
They find the car. Interestingly enough, it is abandoned on the side of a road. It's found at Newlands Corner. It's teetering over a chalk pit, and this is in Surrey. The headlights are on. A fur coat is left behind in the car, and there's no signs of Agatha. And so again, this is where things come in. Police immediately start to suspect some sort of foul play or
Foul
something
play.
else is
Yeah.
going on there. Um, and just a couple of points to make too. On top of her finding out about this affair that her husband is having, her mother has also recently passed. So there's a lot of turmoil in Agatha's life at this point. She and her husband are working towards a divorce.
Hmm.
So, you know, these are some things to kind of keep in mind. And family members noted of her that she was suffering from fatigue, stress, and depression.
Hmm.
Add in the fact that she's a massive best-selling writer, and
Oh
there's
yeah.
demand from your publisher. Hey, when's your next work coming? Because you get paid when you
Timelines and
publish.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
um,
let's just stop here. Like,
yeah,
imagine in 2025, like a J.K. Rowling just disappear. Like, this would be a wild story. And in my research, it said that like this was like worldwide news.
yep,
Like everybody was talking about it. They had dogs looking for her. They had airplanes, volunteers. Like this was a manhunt
yep.
looking for Agatha Christie. That's crazy. That's wild to think that you could disappear for 10 days and no sign of you.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it just shows you, like nowadays, we try to kind of go, how is that possible? But I mean, we are well before cell phones, well
Mm-hmm.
before the internet. So our connection was something that we've actually lost, which is a human connection.
Yeah.
Um, so your neighbor, you knew your neighbor, you knew your friend. Like that's how you knew if something was up with someone. So it wouldn't be super hard to slip through the cracks for you and I to do it.
Mm-hmm.
She's a global best-selling writer. Um, and to your point, this it's a nationwide manhunt. They had over 1,000 police and civilian volunteers. They're searching
Mm-hmm.
woods, lakes, quarries. They actually drag a reservoir looking for a body, and it is all over the newspapers that she's gone. And so this is just between December 4th and 5th. So we're
Right.
within 24 to 48 hours of her disappearing, which is kind of that key time
Mm-hmm.
for a disappearance if somebody's in danger. And
What do
so
they call that
they're
show? The First 48 is
yeah,
that crime mystery show. I think my parents were like obsessed with that show. But yeah, like the first 48 hours are like the biggest. After that, things start to get cold. But you know, later when she reappears, my my thought is like, how did someone? Clearly, everybody knows she's missing. How was someone not like, do you know that that people are looking for you? Don't mean to jump the gun, but I'm just thinking about celebrities today. It would just be why it would be almost impossible to disappear like that. It'd have to be aliens or Bigfoot.
yeah, Bigfoot. It's always Bigfoot. Bigfoot abducted her. No, I think to your point, it is interesting. We'll kind of get into it
Mhm.
towards the end. There may be a good reason why no one recognized her right away.
Mhm.
Um, and we'll touch on that towards the end because there's a distance between where her car is found and where she ends up.
Mhm.
That may have played a pretty big part of it. And also where she's found may have played a big part into why nobody said anything right away.
Yeah.
But this manhunt goes on looking for her. And then what's funny is December 6th through the 8th now, you have other writers that start to get involved.
Mhm.
Famously, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes, um, decides that he's going to bring one of Agatha's gloves to a medium um, in an attempt to have a psychic try to find her. And there were other psychics who actually flood the police with messages. None of this goes anywhere. Um, a famous crime writer at the time, a Dorothy L. Sayers, went and analyzed the crime scene.
Mhm.
It went nowhere. So you got now these other
Mhm.
people who are, the public sleuths. And literally, like, it's always funny when you can work Sir Arthur Conan Doyle into a story. I think it's always
Elementary.
fun. Yes, yes. But it is kind of cool that you got this other mystery writer who's like, I can help solve this mystery
Right, yeah, because I'm a writer.
because I'm a writer. Um, and again tries to use a psychic.
Yeah.
It went absolutely
Well, the problem with
nowhere.
with your writing mysteries and a real mystery is the book you can actually just make it work out the way you want it. But in real life, you actually have to, have some type of sleuthing ability.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because at this time, as we get further in, who becomes the number one suspect? It's going to
It's
be the
always the
husband.
spouse.
It's
It's
always the spouse.
always the spouse.
Well, and when you consider he's having this affair, it's known
Mm,
he's having this affair. So you get into the ninth and the 10th now. We're 6 to 7 days in, and the public is asking for answers, as they do
mm,
even today. And the police begin to suspect Archie's up to something. He
yeah.
wasn't fully transparent about the level of the affair. Um, and investigators looking at the crime scene also note that some of the things look staged, like somebody did this on purpose. Um,
Yeah.
and again, to your point, the husband becomes the suspect.
So, not to get morbid or anything, but when my dad passed away on the cruise ship, um, the police, when they got on the cruise ship, they immediately started asking my mother questions. What are the pills? Because she had put these pills in this cup for him to. It was his morning pills, like his anti rejection pills and all that. Well, they started asking questions. Well, do you have the pill bottles? Because you immediately, right away, not that she was a suspect, but you just start to ask questions to get some answers to rule out if that person is a suspect. But it's always the spouse is the first suspect.
Yep. And that's the case here, especially when he can't answer the questions the way the police think they should. And then you
Mm-hmm.
start to see these issues at the scene, um, and you're going,
Starts
well,
to raise questions.
and things look staged.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at this going, something's up.
It's foul
Um,
play somehow.
yeah, yeah. What's the easiest way for him to get out of this marriage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, death.
She's dead
Yeah.
and she's got money, and now you don't have to go through a divorce. And so you can see where the police start
Yeah,
pointing a finger at him.
makes
Um,
sense.
and then you get to December the 11th through the 14th. And again, we're going through chunks of time because there's not a lot of stuff that's really known
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on other than what the police are doing. But
Mm-hmm.
sometime between the 11th and the 14th, a band musician at the Harrogate Spa Hotel recognizes Agatha from the newspapers. She is checked in, and this is where things start to get weird, under the name Teresa Neal. Neal is the last name of Archie's mistress. Um,
Yikes.
they call Archie and say, "We found your wife." He gets there and he finds Agatha. She appears to be confused. She doesn't recognize him at first. And she's showing signs of emotional shock. And so she is transported back home under medical supervision. Um, this is where things are going to get, because we're going to get into kind of what she was doing and that. And this is where the real heart of the mystery starts to come in
Mm-hmm.
even more. Is so she checks in. Teresa was not the mistress's first name, um, but Neal was her last name. So she was with it enough to use this pseudonym, this false name to check in, and she comes up with the last name of the mistress. So again, you asked the question of how do you kind of slip through, um, and no one notice you if you got somebody that doesn't know what she looks like,
True.
and
True. She's
don't
just a writer.
right, and we don't have a check-in day. So was it within a day or two of her disappearing? Word really isn't out yet. She checks in under this false name. It doesn't raise any initial flags to anybody. Um, but it is interesting that she decided to use that last name. Um, and when she's questioned, Agatha, when she's questioned, she has minimal explanation. She's stating that she has experienced amnesia, an emotional breakdown, a loss of identity and memory. And after she says this publicly, she never speaks of the incident again. She has a biography written, her autobiography written. She makes no mention of it. Um, she does numerous interviews. This never gets clarified in the interview. She never speaks of it again, um, which is only going to add fuel to the fire because people
Yeah, to
want
the mystery, to
answers.
the conspiracy. Yeah. Which is why today in 2025, we are talking about what happened in 1926.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, silence just allows, and we've mentioned this before. In the absence of facts, people will fill facts in, or they'll start to look for things. And so
Yeah.
people want answers. She's famous. They want answers, and she's not giving them.
Hmm.
She just says, "I had amnesia," and that was the end of the conversation. Um, but here's what's interesting. So we mentioned that some of the things look staged.
Hmm.
So they find her car over this chalk pit.
Yeah.
The hotel that she checks into, though, is over 200 miles away.
Hmm.
This hotel and spa. She's using her husband's mistress surname, their last name. The hotel actually says, employees say she was participating in social events at the hotel and she was seen reading newspapers of her own disappearance.
Which is
So
weird.
it's
So
weird.
she knows people are looking for her.
If you're operating under the idea that she remembers who she is, because let's go back to what her claims are. Her claims are that the marital crisis, the the death of her mother, um, meant it just emotional exhaustion. It all created this like fugue state where she had this the brain. Basically, the explanation was the brain does a lot of things to try to protect the person, and one of the things was is it couldn't take the stress anymore, and so it just
Hmm.
kind of like went blank.
Hmm.
And so that's what her claim is, and so her claim is I was just acting, if you read between the lines, this amnesia thing is, it was, I just didn't remember what I was doing. I had no memory. And so she would have just been going through the motions of somebody at a hotel with no memory of who she is. But the weird part is, if you're in this blank state, there had to be some forethought. How'd you know where the hotel was? How did
Hmm.
you know to use the last name Neil? How did you? So you,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's this just weird case of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Um, and so this is where we can kind of just get into some of these theories
Hmm.
because that's the case. They find her and she goes back home.
Yeah.
Um, and again, like I said, nothing really changed at home. Her husband is still having this affair. She's still so it wasn't like events changed for her back home, but what they
Well,
the
don't
oh but
they shortly afterwards they do shortly divorce.
yes
Like they do have the divorce, but
yes
other than that, yeah, everything's just kind of status quo.
yes. Um, so I'm going to give you what they say is the in my notes says the official explanation, and then we'll go into air quote that. Um, so the official explanation, and again, she never comments on this other
Mm.
than initial time, is that she suffered a fugue state triggered by extreme stress. So we're going to share the pros and cons of these. So here's the pros to this theory. It matches medical literature on trauma.
Mhm.
It's supported by her disoriented condition upon discovery. And remember, we said friends and families members had made notes about the fact that she was under this extreme stress and she
Mhm.
had all these things going on. So all
Right.
of that is supported. But now here's the cons. In a fugue state, you usually don't involve elaborate travel plans and pseudonyms, which we pointed
Right.
out. She was with it enough to travel 200 miles and use a name that she would recognize. And she had selective memory,
Mhm.
which was kind of noted as this is awfully convenient that your selective memory on certain events was here but not here.
Right.
So there's some pros and cons to that. I mean, I don't know what you think.
Um, I don't buy this. Uh, Obviously, I'm kind of giving it a little bit away. I think there's more of the I don't know than the okay, that makes sense. So, in the list of theories, this would not be on the top. Now, maybe this with combined with some other possible theories, you have a mental break and, that type of thing. Um, but I would not call this a standalone realistic answer.
Yeah. I'm um I'm kind of the same mindset. Again, though, I will say the brain does some strange things to protect you. Um
Now, I'm not a doctor to give like diagnoses,
yeah,
but
yeah.
from just a guy that likes mysteries, that's kind of where I
Yeah.
stand on it.
I'm not a doctor either. I only play one on TV. No. But like it or on a podcast.
Mhm.
But yeah, the selective memory part kind of raises some questions to me too, is like, if you were having this extreme mental duress where you had this break, you sure remembered enough to travel 200 miles and this name. And again, maybe there is a medical explanation that we just don't know,
Yeah,
but it raises some questions, and which brings us to theory number two. It was staged to embarrass her husband. Um, so this theory is based off the whole idea that she orchestrated the whole vanishing, to punish Archie, make him feel guilty, publicly expose his affair, and possibly, and I don't buy this note on this as much, but maybe to win him back through public sympathy. I don't think that one is as big a concern for her if you're accepting this theory. So pros and cons. The pros of this: she uses Neil as a name she
yeah,
checks in on. Her car was arranged dramatically. Remember, we said the police suspected some
yep.
of
It
it
was.
was
It looked
staged.
like a stage crime scene.
She acted relatively normal at the spa, which, to get into that real quick. So some of the what was noted by employees there was that she was seen dancing, reading the newspaper about herself. She was enjoying spa treatments. She showed no sign of fear or medical emergency to the employees. Um, and she just was participating in the events. Now, as I say that, there were some staff that said privately to the side that she sometimes did look a little lost. She avoided discussing anything of her past when in conversation. Um, and there were times, remember, we said selective memory. This is where this kind of came from, is her memory seemed to be inconsistent
Right.
on some things. So again, that just kind of adds another layer to that. Um, the cons, though, to this idea that she did this, she was a deeply private person. She disliked public scandal. Um, and here's a big one to me on this one. This could have backfired.
Yeah.
Um, public opinion could have turned. Now, I don't think they would have been like, "Oh, you horrible person," because your husband's. But remember, thousands of people, 1,000+ people are looking for her. It's all over the place. You never know how the public turns, especially when it's found out that she's at a spa
Mhm.
hotel, enjoying however many days. This could have really turned on her, and being a public
Yeah.
figure where people want to buy her books. Is it a publicity stunt? Is it a this? Is it a
Mhm.
that? So I
But
think
it's definitely out of character for her
yes.
to do something like this so publicly. And like you said, it could, if it was something she did, it could go really well or it could blow up in her face. I mean, and we've seen that happen. Uh, there's a particular person in Chicago, an actor who claimed something happened, and there is reason to believe it didn't. And it blew up in his face.
Yep.
And he's kind of been blacklisted because of how it turned out. So I mean, these stunts, if they're not real, can really blow up in your face and kind of even ruin your career.
Yeah, and so that's a real risk. And I think this is where, I am not a detective or anything. I do think it's interesting. This is where they talk about victimology,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the person, how the person acts in that. Um, and so for them to sit there and say, she was very private, she just liked the scandal. Um, if she was trying to get her husband's affair out there, there probably
Mm-hmm.
were simpler ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, like go do an interview with a newspaper.
yeah, you're a public figure. Um, I'm not sure that this was really I'm trying to get back at the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the interesting thing, and I'll get your thought on this, is none of these, as we go through all these, none of them are super strong theories. Like
No,
we're going to be able to poke holes in all of these. Um, they don't. This is a weird enough case where I'm not strong on any of these theories. I don't.
no, they all have pros and cons.
Yeah, and like I
There's
don't.
not one that you read and go, "That's it, right there. That's it."
Yeah, I'm not in love with a lot of these. Like, we've done episodes where we're like, yeah, we're pretty sure that it's this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of these fit, and then most of these in the same sentence don't fit.
I
Um,
think this might be the first time you and I don't necessarily agree.
yeah, but this one's weird. Like, to me, if you're again victimology, understanding the
Mm-hmm.
person that is at the heart of this thing, she has all these things that are going on in her life, these stressors,
Right.
and then she dislikes the idea of this public scandal. She's private, and the fact that her career could have been damaged. I think she's smart
Mm-hmm.
enough to know not to do that. This one to me just really doesn't stand up on its own.
Again, like a standalone.
No, no, no. Um, the next theory, and again, this is why we put the trigger warning in the beginning, was that it was a suicide attempt. Some believe that she may have meant to hurt herself and just changed her mind at the last moment. Um, and where this fits is, the emotional toll, the fact that she had just been in a fight with her husband. That is known that it was a pretty heated argument. This has been going. These sorts of things have been going on. So she jumped in the car. It's kind of a in the heat of the moment thing. Um, the scene at the car. Some of it did lead. Well, some of it was staged. Some of it did seem impulsive to the investigators. Her mother's death. So she had all these things going on. Here's the cons to that though. Um, she was very composed afterwards. Checking into the hotel suggests there was at least some planning, possibly. Um, I'm not going to stay on this one very long.
No.
I don't believe that this is a valid theory here. I don't know what your thought
No. I
is.
mean to use the name she used, um, you know, now I could say that uh being someone this I'm going through the first year of losing a parent, to then on top of that have my marriage falling apart, and I'm a public figure, um, you know, I could see it's possible, but in this instance, the because she's there, she's doing all the activities, she's dancing, you know, if you're suicidal, I don't think you're getting into all the other stuff. You're usually not planning ahead and all these types of things. So I don't see this as being a really valid option
Yeah.
here.
And in no means do I want to sit here and try to psychoanalyze her or
No,
anybody
no,
going
no,
through
for
this. So
sure.
I can't speak to whether one way or the other. I just, to me, looking at everything that's here, I don't give this one
No.
a lot of deep credence to it. She may have thought of some She may have gone to some dark places, but I don't think it was
The
anything.
way the whole scenario plays out,
Yeah,
it's on the bottom of the list for me of possibles.
yeah. I agree with you on that one. Um, Another one was, it was a publicity stunt that she came up with on her own. Um, One of the thoughts was she worked with her. Now, this to me is probably right towards the bottom, that her and her publisher came up with this grand theory to
I
sell. Now, is it possible?
I mean,
What sells
how
mystery stories other than a great mystery?
than a great miss? I mean, like, think about it. Like, that would be a really but again, if you find out that it was all staged like that, it could totally blow up in your face and just
Yes.
like make you look like a total jerk.
Mm-hmm. So,
Especially all the money, the manhunt, all the money that's been put into finding her. But I mean, it's one of those like, is it worth the shot to try to do a publicity stunt? For me, it's a little higher. I'm gonna, as the conspiracy guy here, it's a little higher for me.
well, so here's the pros to this, right? Afterwards, her book sales skyrocketed.
Oh yeah.
Um, the public fascination in her grew. Her
Mm-hmm.
global fame was even stronger. Now, mention victimology, understanding the person that you're looking
Mm-hmm.
into. The cons were, this is so outside of her normal
Yes.
function. She was known to never want to risk her reputation
Mm-hmm.
to damage it. There is zero evidence that the publisher was ever involved, and her family insists, and this is where the generally accepted theory comes in at, her family insists that she was under profound mental distress. Um, I think it's more plausible than the other one that we just talked
Mm-hmm.
about.
Yeah.
But I don't think, because again, okay, so if you accept the theory that the publisher is involved, that's a huge step for even the publisher, because now you're talking about your company could be damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Individually, I mean, it's viral marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not crazy about this. I mean, I can write off her books skyrocketed because of the fact that she was all over the newspaper and people just got really interested. It's like a Google.
Oh yeah.
It's like a Google search today.
Yeah.
Go look and see, whatever the big scandal or thing in the news, that's going to be your number one Google search. People are going to want to go read it. So they're going to go read her books. Her fame grows. Well, of course your fame grew. She was all over the front of newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at that and I go, did you really have to come up with this plot to
Yeah.
probably not, because they're like, man, that's a great mystery. What other great mysteries does she have? And she's a phenomenal writer. So let's not short sell the fact that she could write a mystery. There's a reason why her books are still sold today.
Could come up with a real life mystery probably just as easily.
Right, but she didn't need this to sell books.
No, she was a very talented author.
Yeah, so I think it's not high on my list either. I don't know how high you put this one. I don't love it.
Is it possible? Sure.
Yeah, I think all these are possible.
Yeah. Well, so I have a theory that I want
Yeah,
to give.
yeah.
So now bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the English countryside at an estate at a dinner party. And a man and his companion are also there. His name is the Doctor. And there is an alien that makes a psychic link with her and turns into a wasp, kind of like one of her books. And after the psychic link is broken, she has amnesia. So she goes with this doctor and his companion into a police box that he calls the TARDIS, TARDIS, time in relative dimension and time and relative in dimension and space, and he drops her off at the hotel 10 days later.
Oh. Yeah, it's a Doctor Who episode. If y'all didn't figure that one out.
Yeah, if you don't know, that is the British show Doctor Who. They did an episode with the 12th Doctor, and it was kind of just a fun little story about how she lost her memory. And this alien has a psychic link with her, which is the shape shifting wasp, and there's like all these different aspects of some of her. It's almost like a an homage to her storytelling. The episode.
Yeah.
Now, I did tell Tony I was going to bring that up before we started.
Funny enough, that is one of the probably just as acceptable theories as some of these other ones that are in here.
And that brings in aliens. Because we got to have aliens or Bigfoot.
I'm surprised Bigfoot wasn't in the episode with the Wasp. I mean, first of all, it's a weird episode. It is a weird... All the episodes of those are weird, but it is funny. But in a serious note, this just shows how this mystery has survived for almost, next year will be 100 years, and how much of an impact that it's had, we'll say, pop culture.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's this global hit TV show that is working this in. And because we don't have an answer to this mystery, they can do that, and you can go super weird with an alien wasp, and she's, and do all this.
And we're talking, this was done in 2008.
Yeah.
This episode of Doctor Who. So we're talking, this is what, 80 years, something like that?
Yep.
And they're writing an episode about on a British television show about it. That's how big this is, that 80 years later, it's still something that people want to talk about.
Yep. Probably the least likely scenario other than the Doctor Who with the Wasp.
That's on top of my list.
It's probably better than this theory. I'm going to give you this. It's definitely ahead of this one, which is the Archie did it theory, her husband. So this theory, it's a minor theory, there's not a mainstream for it, but basically the idea is he hit her, knew more than he claimed, because remember the police said he was very evasive in the things he was saying, and that it was created as a narrative possibly to give him a little more protection. I'm not quite sure how. The pros to this is his behavior was very evasive. Shortly after the divorce, he married Nancy, which was the mistress. So the idea being is this gave him kind of a cover to say, well, she was having this mental break and she was, and so this was kind of his cover of, well, I was in a marriage that just wasn't working for either one of us. Here's the cons. There's no evidence that supports this. The police found nothing to implicate him. He was not found to be, at least from the evidence, involved in any way in her disappearance.
Right.
I put the Wasp above this theory.
The alien wasp, yeah, for sure.
The alien wasp, the giant alien wasp in the mansion. I don't buy this one. I don't buy this one.
No.
But there was a long-term impact. So whichever theory, and we'll share our theories here in a minute, there was a long-term impact, though, that was had. Mm-hmm. Long-term, Christie's work became even more popular. Shortly thereafter, she did divorce Archie. Mentioned he was remarried. She did remarry herself to a Max Malawan, who was an archaeologist. Thank you.
Indiana Jones.
Yes, she married Indiana Jones. And she lived the rest of her life happily with. But here's what's really interesting. In her books, she started to develop themes of identity, amnesia, psychological pressure in her later novels, specifically in Unfinished Portrait and Sleeping Murder. So these events shaped her writing style.
Yeah.
It is interesting, the effect after, but she did go on to be even more successful. She ended up in a happy marriage. Archie went off and did his thing with and married his mistress. Um, so I don't know, Paul. What do you think? What's your thought on this one?
So I kind of alluded that I think this is like a combo answer. That not one, like we said, not one of these holds water on its own. So I think the first theory is a partial theory. I think with the psychological ramifications of losing a parent, and then having your marriage fall apart, I believe she may have had a psychiatric, like a psychotic break. Maybe not a full psychotic break, but enough that she would maybe make it look like there was foul play. Like, I think she set things up to look like there was foul play. Maybe she just needed to get away. Not necessarily like he did it, like her husband did it. Maybe just to again to garner sympathy in a divorce, or in legal proceedings, if that's still in the back of your mind. Like, I always find it weird when a judge tells the jury, like, you can't remember this, whatever fact you just found out, and it's like, well, that's kind of hard unless you give me amnesia. That's kind of hard to forget that thing. So I think it is a combination of a psychotic break that she just needed to get away, or she did in fact, because going under that name, that is a wink to her husband. Like, mm-hmm. that is a message, in the old Italian mafia. That's a message, that's like waking up with a horse head in your bed, right? It's a very clear message that, I tried to point a finger, or do you see how easily I could make it look like you did something? That's what I think. Or the Doctor Who episode.
So we're really not that far off on our thinking here. We really,
Okay,
we really aren't. So I am going to ask this question that to me I could not find an answer to. How'd she get to the hotel?
That, yeah. And that's where I go, like, the total psychotic break doesn't make sense, because, I mean, are you going on foot 200 miles? That would take a long time to go 200 miles.
So I think it's a little bit of almost everything.
Okay.
She got into a heated argument with her husband. There's a lot of stress at home. She got in the car and was like, I'm going for a drive.
Mm-hmm.
And had this just break. This break. And I think she probably went in and out of this state.
Mm-hmm.
Just off of what we hear. She gets to the point wherever she was at, however far the distance was from her home, pulls over and says, I'm getting away for right now. I'm just out of my mind.
Right.
Obviously, somebody had to help her get there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she found a cab. I don't know if a family, but there was some. I don't know if she planned it at 9:45 at night, because that was when they got into this argument. She got in the car and drove away.
Right.
I think it was one of these where it was like, I ain't going back home because it's not good there. I'm in and out of whatever's going on, just having this emotional break, and I need to take a break. I need to get away from this as much as I can. So somehow she gets to the hotel. She's a famous individual. So here's where I check the boxes of she doesn't want to talk about her past. If she starts to talk about her past, they're going to figure out who she is.
Mm-hmm.
If she starts to give out too much information, they're going to figure out who she is. So what's the better way? And again, I think some of this is already going on in her mind, where she's just, things just make you lose your clarity. I don't even want to say that like she had like long-term amnesia, because
no, you're not thinking correctly.
You're not thinking correctly. She thought enough to use Neil as a last name.
Mm-hmm.
She knew this hotel. She would have had to know this hotel. So I'm assuming she stayed there maybe before, or at least in her circles heard about it. So there was some thought, I think, after leaving the car.
Hmm.
And I think some of it may have been like a little like nudge to her husband, like, hey, you know, I know what's going on. The first name that popped into her head was Neil because
Yeah.
what's in the front of her brain is this Nancy Neal or whatever her name was. I think it was Nancy. Um, so I think it was a little bit of a combination of everything. I
Mhm.
think you solve a lot if you knew how she got to the hotel. Because if it
Yeah.
was a friend picked me up, well then this was probably planned, or at least you figured it out after. But something happened where she planned how to get there.
Hmm.
She knew how to get there. It was a long distance. She was clear enough in that moment that to do that. Again, the facts of them not knowing her story, her background,
Hmm.
she's laying low.
Yeah.
She's laying low.
She just
Um,
needs time.
she just needs time to kind of sort things out. And I think there is a legitimate medical distress going on here, though.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to minimize that. I think we have to take into account everything that the family said, the hotel workers said, that she seemed distressed. There was legitimately a medical situation going on.
Hmm.
I think she was just trying to get some distance and try to get it under control herself. I don't think there was anything nefarious or anything like that behind it. Archie wasn't trying to kill her or hide
No.
her.
No.
Um, I think we've all done things in anger and anything else that you kind of look back and you go, that probably wasn't the smartest way to handle
Yeah. Yeah. Probably wasn't the best thing to do.
it. Consider that she's a private person. She
Hmm.
doesn't like these sorts of things to go on. I don't think this was a giant thought out plan, but I think that once she got on the road and realized, like, I can't go back home, what do I do? She very quickly formulated a plan. And then just kind of with that stress, man, there's days with stress. You mentioned losing your parent. I lost both of my parents in a 12-month window. There are plenty of days that I don't remember during that time where what you did. You just kind of go through it robotically. Um, so I think there is something to say to that.
And then just using the amnesia is just an easy way to kind of. But then on the other hand, then you go into, well, this also is good publicity,
Yeah,
and you kind of just create it more of a this mystery around what happened. Um, you know,
but to that, she's so private
yeah.
that I don't think she wanted to talk about it. It was a painful thing. So,
So saying I had amnesia is just an easy way to just
oh,
kind of
I
dismiss it
think she
and move on.
might have had. I'm going to put it this way. I think she might have had what I would call selective amnesia.
Okay.
Um, so I've had. I'm not going to get into everything. Paul, it's known me
Yeah.
forever. There are things that have happened that were stressful in
Hmm.
my life with parents passing away, family members passing away. There are points where I can't tell you what went on. I can't remember. I don't have a
Yeah.
memory of it. People have told me, "Hey, this is what happened." I have no memory of it. And I think it's a way of our brain protecting us from things that it
Hmm.
knows hurts us.
Yeah.
So
Traumatic
I
things.
think she legitimately her brain was protecting her from something that was stressful.
Hmm.
So I don't think it, because we think of amnesia, oh, I hit my head and now I don't know everything that's going on
Right.
around me. I think there was she just her brain chose not to remember gaps purposely to protect her to keep her from having a complete and utter breakdown.
Right.
But I think what she did is I think it wasn't a publicity stunt. I don't think she was looking for publicity because if she was, she could have cleared this up pretty quickly. Everything that works in her personality, which is I don't want to be public about it. I don't want there to be a giant scandal. I don't want all this. I'm keeping it all quiet. Archie's doing his thing. I don't need to drag him through the mud, which
Hmm.
I think is, you know, speaks to her character to a degree. I think it's all of those things. I think it's all those things. But again, what makes for a good mystery? When you don't know for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. And like you said at the beginning, when we don't have all the facts, that's when we start putting pieces together. That's when we start to, and maybe you start putting pieces together that don't fit, but in your mind you make them fit because you're trying to find answers.
Yeah. And I think it's perfect that you got this. What makes this case live on is she is such a world renowned mystery writer
Yeah.
that this is something out of her books.
Oh, 100%. And that maybe that's the beautiful irony of what God does in our on our planet is that, like, one of the greatest mystery writers of all time would be a part of one of the greatest mysteries.
Yeah. And we're never, and here's the thing, we're probably never going to get the exact answer.
No,
Like,
we won't.
we won't. It's an interesting topic, which I think it just ties into, you know, we just got to be aware of things that people are going through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and and if you, going back to, not necessarily the suicide part, but if you know a friend is going through things, check in on them.
Yeah.
Um, just, if you're a guy, pull the guy code and say, dude, I'm just checking. Everything cool. And just make sure that they know you're there. If you're a person of faith, take a minute, pray with them.
Yep.
Just remind them of, right now it's hard to see God's plan, but down the road you'll better understand why you go through what you go through. But yeah, check in on people that that, especially a death in the close death like that, marriage is falling apart. Just check in on people. I think we've gotten, like you said, we've gotten that human interaction is so broken now in our society that I don't think we always do that.
No, but I think what's nice with this case is the conclusion of the case does end
Mm-hmm.
positively.
Yeah, it's
She
a
en-
happy story.
she ends up being okay. She ends up in a new marriage with a husband that she spends her life with. She continues to be massively successful. Um, so unlike some of these other ones that we've covered, they don't end quite as
Mm-hmm.
happy. This one, this mystery, even though it will probably never be solved, the backside story of it on the backside is it ends happily. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so another case closed, or maybe not. This is the Enigma Files, where every ending is just the start of another mystery. Be sure to give us a follow, a review. Again, as always, if you have your own thoughts or theories, share them with us.
Yeah, put them in
We
the
want
comments.
put them in the comments. We want to hear from you. This was a fun one, just in that the characters involved were so well known. But yeah, please interact with us. We want to hear what you thought. So until next time, everybody, we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, bye everyone.